are free, we are America. And you know it's true. We are free, we are America. We are free, we are America. And the light shines through. We are free, we are America.
Expand your thinking and welcome to Making Sense of the Madness as we deliver the news behind the news here on American Media Periscope. This program is made possible in part by our lead sponsor, Sovereign Advisors. Please visit our affiliate sponsor links in the show notes. My name is John Michael Chambers, and tonight I have convened a power panel to help us make sense of the madness. We will be discussing the election crimes and the election crisis of 2020 and what's to come for America. Our panel is going to be joining us on our panel is Major Jeffery Prather, Lieutenant Scott Bennett, Alex Newman, Alexandra Bruce, James Grundvig, and Susan Bradford. Now, we are adding additional programming to American Media Periscope. In addition to this program, Making Sense of the Madness, there will be 5 new shows before this year is through. And I'm proud to announce Shell Games, the first premiere show with show host Lieutenant Scott Bennett. This will air every Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern beginning next week. You do not want to miss the insights, intel, commentary, and analysis of Lieutenant Scott Bennett each and every week. Shell Games starts next Monday, November 23rd at 6 p.m. Eastern. All right. While American Media Periscope has a way to go in terms of development, I'm quite pleased with the progress of our channel to date. Please bookmark this site, AmericanMediaPeriscope.net, and sign up now to receive free newsletter each and every Sunday at 6 a.m. Remain informed, empowered, and connected, and I'll be right back to kick off our panel discussion.
Money is about to change. There is a war against the Fed. There is a war against the global banking system. With a new law in 2020 that gives the White House control of the Federal Reserve, money is changing now. Take advantage of these trends. Massive profits can be found in this transition. At American Media Periscope, we trust Kirk Elliott, PhD, and Sovereign Advisors for advice. He has not 1, but 2 PhDs and 25 years of experience in the industry. Call him and tell him AMP sent you. 720-605-3900. That's 720-605-3900, and remember, AMP sent you. Click the link in the show notes and schedule your consult with economist Kirk Elliott.
Well, as we said all along leading up to the election, that President Trump was going to win an historical, unprecedented landslide, both electoral college and popular vote. And indeed he did, and this will soon be proven to the American people and shown to the rest of the world. We see the retweet from President Trump report, Dominion deleted 2.7 million Trump votes nationwide. Data analysis finds 221,000 Pennsylvania votes switched from President Trump to Biden. 941,000 Trump votes deleted. States using Dominion voting system switched 435,000 votes from Trump to Biden. This was a retweet, as you can see, President Trump from OAN. So Trump won in a landslide. We'll find out exactly how many delegates down the line when this all shakes out, but it'll be far north of 300 in this one man's opinion. And I wrote about this. I wrote about this back at the very end of 2016 into January of 2017 in my book, Trump and the Resurrection of America. We spoke then at the time about the Diebold or Diebold computers, but the same mechanism that we've come to learn a lot about now with the scorecard and the hammer and now Dominion and so much that's coming out, that even though I wrote about it years ago, it's been going on for a while. The digital theft has been around besides all the other methods of theft, and thank goodness, along with everything else in President Trump's first term, this is now being exposed. Dominion and Diebold computers. Trump's executive order, you're seeing this circulated out there. The story begins with a little-known executive order signed into existence on September 12, 2018. So in 2018 September, President Trump signed an executive order that basically stated executive order on imposing certain sanctions in the event of foreign interference in a United States election. In that executive order, which almost no one has covered since the day it was signed, President Trump declares a national emergency. That emergency is still in play to this day, and the 2020 election was conducted under this state of emergency, which is a crucial point to understand what may be coming next. Just a quick announcement, I had an interview with Juan O'Savin that you'll want to listen to. I think we'll be broadcasting it tomorrow. This was a pre-recorded, very telling information from someone very well connected. Now, all this stuff that we see we're talking about here on the executive order and this state of emergency and interfering with foreign elections, I think the release of the Biden laptop and the 3 hard drives that were turned over is going to play into this and not in Biden's favor. Of course, Sidney Powell, she said she will release the Kraken, if you will, and overturn the election results in multiple states. We are on it, and we are here to discuss this. We have a panel of 6 people. Each person will come on and talk with me for about 5 minutes or so, and then sit in what we call the digital green room, and then we'll convene all of the panel together for a roundtable discussion on the election crisis and the election crimes of 2020, our analysis, and also how we think this may play out in the up-and-coming weeks, couple of short months. And our first guest will have to vacate the premises, if you will, because he has previous commitments, so he will not be joining in on the full panel. But Major Jeffery Prather is a retired Army officer and ex-special agent for the Drug Enforcement Administration who served for decades on the southern border. He's also served as Chief of Global Operations for the Defense Intelligence Agency and as Intelligence Officer Special Forces Group, and commanded an airborne PSYOP, a good friend to our program, and he'll also be launching his own show on American Media Periscope before this year is out. Please welcome back Major Jeffery Prather. Hey, Jeff.
Hi, welcome back. Thank you.
Good to see you. Thanks for being here, sir. The interest of time, I'd like you to give us your 40,000-foot view in 5 minutes or so on what you feel the American people need to know from your perspective of what's happening right now with this election crisis.
So it's really historic, and the election is really another covert operation. You got to remember that when Esper was fired because Trump realized that he was deep state, he put in Chris Miller. Inside the Special Forces community, Chris Miller is known as one of the horse soldiers who went into Afghanistan and wiped out the Taliban. He also was with the DIA involved in the rescue of Jessica Lynch. And he alerted other folks who then moved up, which is Ezra Cohen Wasnick, which very likely is actually Q himself, who has been inside DIA for a long time and is a Trump loyalist. And this is so groundbreaking, because what I'm hearing is Durham has done nothing, and Barr is getting ready to indict Wasnick. Which I think is new. But that's because WikiLeaks dropped the CIA station in Frankfurt, and a special missions unit raided it. And that was a CIA operation where the votes were being changed. Some of those other machines are the Dominion machines through Akami, which is a Chinese company. And DHS CISA, the Cyber Security Intelligence Security Agency, was actually in on that as well with Dominion and Akami. I have the IP addresses that go back to that. And so this has really turned into a covert operation and a counter-covert operation with Patriots. It's CIA against CIA, essentially. And the Dominion stuff was running through a Massachusetts server and then going to Serbia and then coming back through there. And DHS, using CISA, Cyber Information Security Agency, was working with VoterWorks, which is a left-wing organization, a Soros-sponsored organization. Only the Air Force and Space Force, now we know why Space Force is so important, because Space Force stuff is secure. Everything else has been hooked up to the internet and leaked. And so this is really the great reset of the deep state versus the great awakening. And more is to come. We'll also see, I think, that Trump will triumph in Georgia and Arizona, but I think we'll also see some interdictions with Iran very shortly because of breaking the nuclear treaty of centrifuges. And my big concern is that Trump can get all this to the Supreme Court, and that the Supreme Court has now become constitutionalist because the system is much more corrupt and infiltrated than any of us have ever believed. So it's the Dominion voting through Massachusetts, going to Serbia, and then coming back. It's a commie through DHS and CISA. And it was the CIA involvement, which we've seen on lots of signatures, but this is a very direct signature. And when Sydney is talking about the Kraken, I have people who have gotten Sydney information before. The Kraken is actually a counterinsurgency tool that is able to track the vote switching. So it's not recorded. You have to get it real time. And the Kraken is actually the algorithm that does that.
Thank you. You know, these are serious felonies. These are serious crimes that have been committed. And I've gotten conflicting information about these computers that you alluded to, Dominion, that where the intel's being gathered. Was it the military that has gone and seized this, or is it CIA or more intel versus military? Do you have any opinions about that?
Yes. So you're talking about Larry Johnson with the State Department coming out on the Gateway funding. I think he's wrong the way he put that. He does not correctly identify how the CIA works. He doesn't quite understand that because we're talking about very covert special mission units that I am intimately familiar with, and looking at the personalities, Chris Miller and Ezra Cohen, Watnick, and BIA, which I've been inside of, and part of these units. I understand it's very confusing from the outside, but it's the Patriots with the DOD and the BIA going against the FBI, the DOJ, which that's why we know they can be so unafraid, is because nothing's going to happen. What I'm hearing is Durham has done nothing, and Barr is actually going to indict Lustig. So to get in there, there are special methods. And I'm pretty sure that's what was happening. And the Kraken is actually not, some kind of mythological term. He's actually referring to a algorithm in cyber counterintelligence tool that actually recorded that. And also, having been a special agent and sat at the front table with assistant United States attorneys and actually worked with some United States attorneys, I'm sure she wouldn't say that unless she could back it up. The only problem here is, can we get through enough corrupt courts and have the Supreme Court really turn to constitutionality to make this happen by December 14th? But evidently she feels she can do that.
All right, thank you. You mentioned Space Force before. How, is that relating to the secureness of blockchain or something of the sort? How does Space Force play into this?
Yeah, yes, that is exactly right. Is that the other organizations have been too infiltrated. So standing up Space Force, he could put people in there that he could trust, just like Ezra Cohen, Lustig, which I'm hearing is actually Q, and that was the Flynn's guy all along. And Chris Miller is a total hero, helping rescue with DIA with some covert means, kind of like out of the Mission Impossible movie. And I think all of that really made the difference and is really turning the corner But from what I'm hearing, Air Force stuff is secure, and Space Force stuff is secure, and everything else is compromised.
Well, great. Thank you very much. I know you have other commitments, and we've reached that time slot, so I want to respect your time, and I appreciate you weighing in with your important insights into this unbelievable time in our country's history, and I thank you very much. Folks, you can follow Major Jeffery Prather's work on YouTube and visit his website you saw up on the screen. Thank you very much, sir, and we look forward to seeing you back on the show again. Thank you.
Thanks for everything you're doing. This is really important.
You bet. Thank you very much. All right. Alex Newman is an award-winning international journalist with a global reputation for hard-hitting reporting and is the founder of the Liberty Sentinel. He's been on our show before. Real happy to have Alex weigh in. Please welcome Alex Newman. Hey, Alex.
Hey, thank you very much for having me. It's great to be with you.
Good to see you. Sort of the same line of question. I'm trying to get everybody's perspective. We're all different patriots coming from different areas in society. What's your 40,000-foot view on what we're witnessing, and how do you see this playing out?
Yeah, as the Biden campaign explained during the campaign, this is a battle for the soul of America. He was absolutely correct. It really is. If the vote rigging, fraud using revolutionary coup plotters and the deep state succeed, America, as we have known it, will cease to exist. Our liberties will be gone. Our constitutional republic will be gone. We will be merged into what these globalists, what these deep staters regularly refer to as the New World Order, kind of a global technocratic totalitarian state. And we'll have to explain to our children and our grandchildren why we let that happen on our watch. However, I do not believe that they are going to succeed, not this time around at least. There's too much evidence. The fraud was just so obvious and so blatant. And I, for one, am hoping, and I think it's very likely, that the fraudsters will be caught, that the evidence will be exposed, that the media will be discredited. And I've already seen some very encouraging indicators that this is happening. I'm personally very pleased to see Fox News suffering an enormous loss of credibility, because I've warned for many years that Fox News was actually much more dangerous than the regular fake media, because all the Trump supporters, all the conservatives, all the Christians already knew that the rest of the media was phony, that it was a bunch of liars and deep state propaganda mouthpieces. But Fox News was the key to this operation. That's why they used it to call Arizona and some of these other races, because all the fake media outlets in the world could have said in unison that Biden was the president-elect. Nobody who's voted for Trump, which I'm convinced was an overwhelming majority of the voters this election, would have believed. I mean, if they told us that the sun came up in the morning, we would go to the window and check to make sure that that was true, right? They have no credibility whatsoever. They needed Fox News. Fox News it has been, the News Corporation, which owns it, has been a corporate member of the Council on Foreign Relations. The head of it, Rupert Murdoch, has been an individual member of the Council on Foreign Relations. And of course, Hillary Clinton famously told us that the Council on Foreign Relations is who gives her instructions on what she should be doing and how she should be thinking about the future. So I do believe that the fraud was too brazen. There are too many people awake. The polling data shows that the overwhelming majority of Republicans know that the Democrats and the deep state tried to steal this election. And so now all that's left is to figure out the strategy to win. I know Donald Trump has been thinking about this for a long time. There are multiple avenues for victory. We've got a couple articles coming out in the next issue of the New American, which will be going to press on Thursday, so subscribers will be able to get that. We've got details on the voting fraud at my website, libertysentinel.org. And I think this is, for all those who've been sitting on the sidelines waiting for your cue, this is your cue, guys. You've got to get involved in this fight. The future of our nation, the future of our freedoms hangs in the balance, and it's all going to come down to what happens in the next few weeks here.
Well said, Alex, and I loved your spot-on analysis and brazen, bold truth about Fox News. I had been out speaking, prior to launching the show, and a year, 2-3 years ago, started chipping away at Fox to an audience of Trump supporters, as I am, that didn't really want to hear that at the time. Some of them saw it, but they see it now. They see it now, and the president, to your credit, Alex, along the way, and certainly in the last 6 months to a year, he's been dropping the clues to Fox News. Now there's no clues required. Fox News, they gave us Fox News to give us the illusion that we had a seat at the media table, in this ocean of liberal media, but it was a very clandestine operation. I agree with you completely how harmful Fox was. And now they too have been exposed, and you're right, their ratings and viewership is falling. Real briefly, and you'll come back. Can you stick around and join our panel in a little bit?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. We're going to weigh in on avenues for victory, but briefly, what do you see as a potential avenue or avenues for victory?
Well, I've already been in communication with state legislators in Pennsylvania and Arizona. There is a real effort to send a slate of Republican electors. Barring that, if we can get the elections were so fraudulent in Pennsylvania, Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia, that even if we can just get those electors canceled, if that slate of electors can be canceled, nobody will get to 270. It'll go to Congress. 12th Amendment kicks in, and at that point, the Republican delegations in the House, each state gets one vote. At that point, the Republican-controlled delegations can elect Donald Trump to be the next president. And I think there's a lot of confidence in the Trump campaign that there are multiple paths to victory here, and one of them will be successful. Excellent.
Well, great analysis. Have a seat in the digital green room, as it were, and we'll have you back on the screen in just a moment. Thank you. Alex Newman. Now joining us is Susan Bradford. Susan Bradford worked in the halls of power of London with the Atlantic Council and Parliament as a speechwriter. She was an establishment journalist who worked for CBS, PBS, and Fox News Channel. She's fully aboard with us. She's a deep researcher. Please welcome to our show author and investigative journalist Susan Bradford.
Yes, hi, John. I hope I don't lose you tonight. I'm suffering from some technical difficulties, but it's very good to join you this evening.
Good to have you. Your audio is loud and clear, which is most important, and it's great to see you. So I'm asking the same question of our panel. You could take it where you choose. We've got about 5 minutes or so until we convene collectively. But what's your 40,000-foot view on this crisis you see unfolding, and how do you see it potentially playing out?
I think Trump is in full control of the election and its results. I believe that he very astutely a trap for the deep state. He knew back in 2016 and 2018 that the Democrats would try to steal the election. And so back in 2018, during midterm elections, he signed the executive order that essentially permitted the Department of Justice to seize the assets of any players who are any foreign interference in the election. That would apply to the media, to the Democratic Party, and those who had provided like material, financial, economic, any type of support to like foreign interference in the election. Case if in the event that were to happen, which it did, he would be able to seize their assets and prosecute them. And I believe that is what he's doing now. Today we just heard, as was discussed, that from Representative Louis Gohmert, that the U.S. Army apparently raided Germany to acquire the servers for Dominion. We know that the Dominion was deeply embedded within the Democratic camp. Even one of their executives. The vice president of Dominion, Eric Coomer, who's in charge of the software security, was an Antifa supporter. I think that Donald Trump, he anticipated what they would do. He set the trap. The Democrats, but they did. And I think that they did it because they are very desperate for power. They are afraid of prosecution and are trying to avoid it. And I also think that they are so deeply compromised that they are actually being compelled to continue onward against all odds. And I think that the fact that I think it's evident that they do not even believe their own rhetoric. Kamala Harris has yet to resign from her seat on Capitol Hill.
Wow. Yeah, interesting analysis. But you're absolutely right. President Trump set the trap. We got him. And now, as our previous panel guest spoke about as well, now we have to work our way through it to provide the evidence, irrefutable, overwhelming evidence, I might add, and then whichever path we have to securing the true votes is really what we're all waiting upon right now. And to our viewers, Susan Bradford will also be launching her weekly show right here on American Media Periscope as we grow, because we are now the news. So we're real honored and happy and look forward to your show. Your show will be launched here on this platform prior to the end of this year. So we look forward to that. Can you stand by in the digital green room?
I absolutely can. Yes, I can.
Excellent. Well, thank you. We'll have you back on in just a few minutes. SusanBradford.org. All right, folks, now we're going to bring on Lieutenant Scott Bennett, retired U.S. Army Special Ops officer and psychological warfare analyst. He worked in the highest levels of counterterrorism, intelligence, and politics in Washington, D.C. He's the author of Shell Game, A Whistleblower's Report, a book you need to get a copy of. Lieutenant Scott's premier weekly show right here on American Media Periscope begins a week from today. Please welcome back to our program our good friend, Lieutenant Scott Bennett. Hey,
Good
Scott.
to be with you, John.
Good to see you. So you've been listening to some of the commentary. How would you like to weigh in on the crisis that's unfolding and how potentially you see it playing out?
Well, I think your commentary is all very sound, and I do think if any military assets are acquiring the technology and the servers and things that have been used to do this coup d'etat and election fraud, it'll all be eventually brought to bear. Sidney Powell is very efficient. I know her personally, and I'll never forget when she said we need an attorney general to bring in the fire hoses and clean out Department of Justice. I can't imagine a better person to do that than Sidney Powell. So I'd like to see Trump appoint her as attorney general or FBI director or someone in a capacity like that. So she is very, very efficient. I think she is bringing a lot of this to bear. My contacts that are out there already are sharing with me a lot of the legal advancements that are being made. There is some skepticism and danger and caution that people who have been in the military and these intelligence analytical circles are saying, and that is they just want to make sure that Trump is not being led down a wild goose chase in some of these technological investigations and things like that, because this is a very, very sophisticated electronic manipulation scam that was pulled, and there's a lot of trapdoors and ways for this to be covered up. So the cautionary advice that I'm getting from people that are on the ground out there is make sure that Trump knows and has the right technical people analyzing this. Lawyers are very efficient at presenting the facts and the testimony and the whistleblowers and things like that, but the technical analysis needs to be very, very tight. So that's something that needs to be looked at. And this is also a critical time because, as you know, you'll have a lot of people out there trying to fly their flag, trying to say that they're the best friends of the president because they're angling for some presidential administration job after the fact. And a lot of that ego can get ahead of the game, and it can be very disruptive to the mission. So I look at this like a military operation that is advancing on an enemy territory, and everyone has to be very, very tight. The president is the supreme commander, and he's got key lieutenants, and no one should be undermining or causing division because this is a critical time. Let's also review what the left are saying. Alec Baldwin's coming out with notes and tweets and messages that, quote, they should bury Trump, bury him and remove him. John, they intend to kill Donald Trump if he wasn't elected president again. I have no doubt that they would intend to kill him because they would not be able to chance him running in 2024. So I say that because the president needs to understand these people are psychotic, lunatic, murderous, raging fools. But this is a life or death struggle, and he needs to win this. I agree completely. There are multiple paths to victory, but he needs to recognize that this is an existential struggle for the life or death of the United States and the presidency. The Ocasio-Cortez and the far left and the Michael Moore, These lunatic, raging barbarians have no respect for the Constitution or individuality or property. They are absolute communists, and they are out of their minds, and they will exercise all means necessary to seize power. So we can't underestimate their savagery. I think they're incompetent fools that would be removed and shot down and eliminated in any sort of a civil war that may erect itself. But we have to be very, very cautious and recognize just how serious this is. And I'll say the president, when he raised his hand to uphold the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, means he needs to stand against these domestic enemies that are doing this. They are usurping and undermining the Constitution, the government of the United States. He cannot allow them to gain power. So he can't just walk away from this and say, well, even though they stole it, for the betterment of the country, we're gonna give it to Biden. He can't do that. That's in violation of his oath as the president. He needs to see this through. If he needs to declare the Insurrection Act, so be it. If he needs to declare martial law, so be it. If he has to declare a hand count over every state in the nation, so be it. No option should be off the table whatsoever. And the president needs to invoke any military standards and practices, people and systems into solving this crisis, because they are trying to steal it. They're trying to engage in a propaganda war with mainstream media to cultivate the dull, the simple, and the sleepy into believing that Biden won, into believing that it's in the best interest of the country for Trump to step down. No, Trump needs to finish this, and I think he knows this and will do it, because you saw him driving through the streets on Saturday. And there's no better feeling than to see thousands of people surrounding his motorcade with smiles and love and protection. And Trump knows that. He drove through his people and his warriors and his army. And he knows that the American people will stand and die in defense of his presidency, because they realize they're defending their own lives, their own liberty, and their own property against tyrants and people that would sell us out and lock everybody down in masks in a police state, like Gavin Newsom is threatening to do to California starting tomorrow, and putting everybody in lockdown. But no one will concede to that, and we will all disobey, because the Constitution gives us that.
Yes, I agree with you, Lieutenant Scott, on President Trump may having to resort to the Insurrection Act or military martial law, whatever it may be. I would say this: the president is not going to concede this election, period, because he knows it was stolen. All we have to do now is get through the mechanics of proving that, and then the avenue to victory. And you raised a great point about the technology trap doors. This is very complex stuff, and you're absolutely right. I hope we've got the right eyes on that aspect of this, because the clock is ticking. We're actually up against the clock due to certain deadlines and dates. But I think ultimately we're heading into some dark period for the next couple of months, but we're going to win this thing. Lieutenant Scott, if you can stand by just a moment, we're going to chat with two other panel guests, and then we'll convene everybody back on the screen. Can you stick around for us?
Certainly happy to.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And of course, Lieutenant Scott Bennett will be launching his premiere show on American Media Periscope this coming Monday, and we're real excited to have that. Thank you. And our next guest is Alexandra Bruce, the researcher's researcher. She's the founder and publisher of the popular alternative news site. If you haven't been there, it's time to bookmark it, ForbiddenKnowledgeTV.net. And she's also a weekly contributor to Making Sense of the Madness. Please welcome back from New York, Alexandra Bruce. Good evening.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for being here with us. We all have our perspective of what we're watching unfold here in America with regards to the election crime and election crisis. How would you like to weigh in on it from your perspective?
Well, for me, it's what I find disturbing is how the very department that was created to ensure the safety of the election is, as Jeffery Prather says, completely in on the steal.
Yes.
And this was something I had discussed in our last show. Chris Krebs, who's the head of CISA, And he actually posted a web page on his website, on the CISA's website, that was about dealing with rumors of election fraud. So this was before the election took place. And then afterwards, he's tweeting about, how the hammer and scorecard have been debunked. And so you could see that even before the election, he was more preoccupied with debunking rumors of, election fraud than he was with actually protecting against election fraud. So that's incredibly disturbing. And then what Hugh posted late last week was that his assistant director had been fired. But then the following day, we find that Chad Wolf, the acting head of DHS, had refused Trump's orders to fire this CISA head, this Chris Krebs. And so he's still there. He's still there. He's part of the resistance, and he's in charge of, the critical infrastructure that is election security. So that's what we're looking at. And then Bill Barr sent some U.S. attorneys to investigate election fraud, and 2 or 3 of them came back and said there was zero evidence of any fraud. So we're dealing with DHS and DOJ being part of the the resistance right now. And so I wonder if anything can be done through the DOJ at this point. And, that's why you're seeing Sidney Powell spearheading this whole thing, because it can't be done within the DOJ. And so, I'm even thinking if it doesn't go to the Supreme Court, it might have to go to a JAG court, it might have to go directly to a military tribunal. I mean, we are dealing with massive, it's election treason. This is treason, what's happening here. I mean, I think that the law goes like even one vote that's stolen gets you 200 years in jail. So, we're talking about millions and millions and millions of votes. On her end, Sydney today was detailing how her mathematicians had already decoded, the fraud that was used, I think, in Michigan and Georgia. It was a particular algorithm that stole a percentage of the points and then switched them from Trump to Biden. So I think that they're on top of that. And it's just my concern is how to prosecute this.
I think you've raised a great point, and I agree with you. And that is, look, we may get some activity from Barr and Durham on some fronts. Once we get this under our belt, we may not. But in either case, I think we're going to have a little bit of both going on. I believe the president will exercise the options that he has available constitutionally and legally to sidestep the corrupt Justice Department and bring swifter justice through military tribunals, as you've stated. And also he would be able to bring civilians into military tribunals based on this clause and document that I introduced to the show a couple of weeks back. So I think you're right, and we'll see what's happening. Look, Jim Jordan tells us the hope on Durham and Barr is Jim Jordan, who I have a lot of respect for, pretty much told us Durham's around the corner, but I have a lot of respect for Q as well, and Q's most current post has one word in it: Durham. So. But I believe we're going to have to sidestep some of this as well in order to get swift justice and let people know we're not messing around. This will include people in the media. But Alexandra, can you stand by? We'll have one more guest to bring onto our panel, and then we'll convene everybody back for a roundtable discussion. Thank you very much, Alexandra Bruce. And now James Grundvig, a Making Sense of the Madness contributor as well, is an author and researcher. He's been published in the Epoch Times, Financial Times Foreign Direct Investment Magazine, the Huffington Post, and Vaxxter, V-A-X-X-T-E-R, Vaxxter.com, among many other media outlets. Please welcome back from partial lockdown New York, James Grundvig. Hey, James.
John, how you doing tonight?
Good to see you. Well, same question, 40,000 foot view.
I have a different take.
Okay.
Maybe Barr sent out the 3 resistors or fake resistors to play possum, right? Oh, there's no election fraud. You know why? If you go back and read that September 12th, 2018 executive order on national security, talks about those people complicit. So, yes, these are foreign entities. So Dominion's overseas, Skittles overseas, Smartmax, I think a Canadian company. But then anyone that helped these companies, could be in the United States, would be complicit. So it's sort of like if I go rob 3 banks, I guess that's 3 counts of robbery against James, right? If I go rob 3 more, that's 6 counts against James. Well, we're now seeing the Georgia recounts, started over the weekend, that they're continuing to do voter fraud, continuing to block transparency. And I'm wondering, all my friends are screaming at me, how come no one's been arrested yet? How come Barr's not come out yet? What if they're collecting more information live, not just forensically analyzing in the past, but now they're being blocked in certain states. The rhinos and certain state legislators in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania are not doing their jobs. And the recounts in Georgia are basically a sham. And so I'm wondering, wouldn't it be interesting if they're collecting all these new counts of voter fraud, of interference, of collusion, of whatever it may be? So I'm going to give Barr another week or 10 days to see if he emerges. On Q, so Durham, that's all Q said, one word. Sure, it could be John Durham. You know what else it could be? Sidney Powell. She's born in Durham, North Carolina. So what is Q referring to? Sidney Powell or John Durham? I guess we're going to find that out soon enough as well.
Great observation. I hadn't thought of that. As you were leading up to it, it clicked. That makes sense. Well, in either case, I'll take either one. I'll take both. But just a quick comment, James, on Barr and Durham, John Durham. I, for some reason, have faith in Durham bringing us some goods. And Attorney General, look, this is an intelligence battle, which is what you're alluding to. We don't know what we don't know, and but we will know soon. But in either case, I still believe the president will have to sidestep some of this and go another direction at the same time, because even if Durham and Barr are with us and unleashed, there's all kinds of problems in the court systems, as we well know. So, but the good news is we're coming after them. They've been exposed, and we have a clock ticking now. This isn't just talk, and we can maybe do it or not do it. We have no choice. We have to expose and take them down now, or we've lost America. So thanks for being with us, James. Sit tight. We're going to actually stay right where you are. To our producer, if we can bring on our full panel to kind of weigh in and check in with all of us. There we are. We've got James Grundvig, Alex Newman, Lieutenant Scott Bennett, Susan Bradford, and Alexandra Bruce. Major Jeffery Prather had previous commitments he alerted us to, so he's not with us at this time. Thank you all for being patient and for sharing your perspectives, because the people watching this program really are looking for information, because they're not getting it from Fox. And so they have to go to alternative places, and there's plenty of sources out there in addition to ours, but your perspectives all gathered here together, I think, is been most valuable to people. And I want to make this announcement too. Since we got hit by the deep state, if you will, the Google boys of Twitter, of YouTube, our analytics are off the charts. And I'll start providing all that information because we're just up and running for 2 weeks. But American Media Periscope has turned lemons into a delicious pitcher of lemonade, and we're getting far more traffic than we were able to get on the other platforms. So I appreciate everyone watching us and sharing AmericanMediaPeriscope.net with everybody out there. So, it's a little difficult for me to properly run a 6-panel board. I don't know why I do this, but I do. Here we are. If anybody would like to, just raise your hand if you'd like to comment and kick off a conversation. That didn't work. Let's go to Alex Newman. Alex, we've listened to some other perspectives from our other panel guests. What are your thoughts? Anything come to mind that you'd like to tackle with regards to this subject?
Well, there's a couple of things that come to mind. And we warned back in September that there was going to be an attempt to have a color revolution here in the United States, basically to overthrow the Trump administration, but not just the Trump administration, the will of the American people, and even our constitutional republic itself. And we warned that was going to happen, and election fraud, of course, was a key part of it. But the most central element of it, in terms of it being able to succeed, is control of the narrative. As long as the deep state can control the narrative, they can get their way. And so I think one of the most important things that people can do right now is work on destroying the deep state's ability to control the narrative. And there are several ways of doing that. One is to for example, share this show, right? Share your website. Also, people can subscribe to legitimate publications out there. I write for the New American Magazine and the Epoch Times. Those are both excellent sources of news. They can't be censored by the big tech totalitarians because they show up in your mailbox, right? So we need to work on ways to bypass the fake media and also the deep state tentacles masquerading as social media companies like Twitter, like Facebook, like YouTube, and all the rest of them. So I encourage people, if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the print publications that are bringing you the truth. Migrate, even if you have to do it gradually, migrate away from the platforms controlled by the big tech totalitarians, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Quit using Google, for crying out loud. Move on over to better platforms. There's Parler, there's Gab, there's MeWe, there's BitChute, there's Brighteon, there's Rumble, and I could go on. As far as search is concerned, don't use Google anymore. You're basically giving them your data and letting them spy on you in exchange for being manipulated with propaganda. They've gotten more and more extreme in trying to bury the truth, trying to bury any perspective that's conservative, that's Christian, that's true, that's accurate. Right? They are only interested in promoting the deep state agenda and the deep state's narrative. And so there are great alternatives out there. I encourage everybody to get involved. And one of the ways that you can help bypass the big tech totalitarians is by sending stuff out by email and by using regular mail and by calling people on the phone and by going to visit your neighbors in person. We've got to destroy their monopoly on the means of communication, or we will end up as slaves.
Excellent commentary and good marching orders for all of us. Anybody else like to bring up a subject, comment, or weigh in?
Well, I could just say something quickly.
Hi, John.
Go ahead, Alexandra.
Yeah, is that this whole thing is really all about the Great Reset, okay, that the planet is in the grips of right now. And big tech is a huge part of it because it is about a new financial system ultimately. And it appears that the big tech will replace the central banking system. They all are working on their own cryptocurrencies. And so that's just an observation that I've made, is that, the tentacles that they have into everybody's life and their data is exactly what the central banksters want. And so I think so we've seen them just really act on their behalf. The censorship it's just completely surreal. It's so dystopian and insane what's been going on.
Oh, it's off the charts right now, and I think it's going to get worse between now and our victory, because they don't want that victory to be known. I just have to ask. I know Lieutenant Scott wants to weigh in, but Susan, we've got an image of you, and I want to be fair. Did I hear you try and chime in a moment ago?
You did, and I apologize for the technical difficulties I'm having on my side. What I was wanting to say is that the greatest control that the deep state has on us right now is psychological, and they're trying to maintain false narrative, and they're essentially gaslighting the population. What Trump is very carefully doing is exposing the deep state, actually forcing them to expose their own hand, and so in the process, all of their various if they're the media and the Democratic Party itself is imploding before our eyes. Sidney Powell has tweeted that Trump may very well have won each state. He definitely won the popular vote. We know that this is going to the Supreme Court, where it will likely be decided in his favor. If it doesn't, it will be decided in Congress, where the Republicans have the majority. So I think the trick now for him is to awaken the American people. He knows that they're behind him, and I think this. a Million MAGA march that took place over the weekend does show the overwhelming public support. And it reminds me of the role of the Voice of America during the Cold War, where our government broadcasted to the eastern communist states that the federal government was behind them. They could speak out and overthrow, the criminal communist government, and that we would be, our government, the federal government, would be behind them. And I think that's what Trump is doing now. He is signaling to us that the deep state is illegitimate. They are exposing themselves, and the people, for the first time, have both the confidence and the motivation to come forward and support him. And we're seeing like an overwhelming level of support and activism that never would have been possible, even back in 2016. So I'm very encouraged by this, and I don't have a doubt in my mind that that Trump will see a second election or a second term in office.
Excellent. In my opinion, there's probably north of 80 million people in America that support this president, and we had a nice display of that in Washington these last couple of days. The people are with the president, and that's something that they're not going to be able to squash. Lieutenant Scott, do you care to weigh in?
Well, from a military perspective, John, anger has a very positive and force multiplying effect. Not reckless anger, not emotional selfishness, but anger in defense of a righteous cause. And nothing is more righteous than the liberties that God has given you, the Constitution that God has given you, the family God has given you, the job, the vocation, the property that God has given you. A man can receive nothing except it be given him from heaven. And every good and perfect gift cometh down from the Father of lights. These are sacred, eternal truths that we as Christians value and honor. And in a sense, it requires people to get angry. And I know that perhaps is a little bit alien in the civilian world. It's natural in military circles. When I was sent to war, when I was going through my training, anger was something that you wield for the maximum impact and destruction of your enemy. It doesn't mean you're out of control at any point, ever. It's almost like a samurai martial art, and you put yourself in a mental zone, a psychological zone. And I just wanted to help quicken people into that position and reiterate that this is a time to be angry. This is the time to look upon this as a violation of your children and your wives and your husbands and your property. This is a theft. This is an assault. This is an attempt to lobotomize you. This is an attempt to make you feel guilty and acquiesce in this politically correct religion that the left is trying to push upon us, and the whole lesbian, gay, transgender, sexual schizophrenia, immorality, political correctness, all of this stuff that they try and force upon people is an assault. They are assaulting you. They are attacking your traditional family values. They are attacking the notions that you and your parents and your grandparents and your ancient bloodlines of family have held dear for over 200 years, if not longer. With this new perversion and an agenda of perversion and political correctness and atheism and abortion and all of this other poison that the left is dripping with, they're not asking you to consider it. They're telling you, threatening you, abusing you, assaulting you if you refuse to have that injected into your being and your family and your education. And all of this needs to be understood as a violent attack upon you. And the only way to respond to violent attackers is to destroy the violent attackers with violence. And I don't mean anything other than righteous violence, but when someone is assaulting or attacking or coming at you with a club or coming at you with a blowhorn or your family, you have to be prepared to stand your ground intelligently and defeat the attacker. That's what Donald Trump is doing. That's what he's awoken in people since he was first elected. Lindsey Graham and these other halfwits who got up there in the Republican ranks couldn't hold a candle to Trump. That's why he won more votes then, and he's done it again now. He's won Democrats. He's won Libertarians. He's won conservative Christian Republicans. He's won LGBT gay people too. I'm not throwing them under the bus. They voted for him, and the enemy of my enemy is my friend. I'd rather have them voting for Trump than voting for Biden. But Trump has essentially broken up and flipped upside down the whole status quo of American politics. And this is why they've attacked him. This is why they're continuing to attack him. And this is why we have to rise to his defense. And part of that is everybody should continue to go down on their street corners with Trump flags and Trump vehicle parades and make yourself seen. Wear your hat, wear your T-shirt, and show people that you're standing with the president. You're not standing with this retard halfwit Biden. You are actually up there standing for the Constitution and liberty and the free election. And don't back down. Don't apologize for people. Be prepared when idiots are screaming and yelling that you have a response. And this is very, very critical, because that's how the left wins. They bully and push and intimidate people into silence. And we have to respond with a louder voice and a more militant spirit, because we've got right and the Constitution and the families on our side. The left have nothing but the fantasies of communism and humanism. That's at the heart of the left, is a existence without moral law, without God, without natural law, and somehow they escape the eternal judgment of actions having consequences. This is at the heart of the leftist. It's madness, it's insanity, and it's coming out as violence. But we have to be prepared, and we have to answer. And some people, John, we shouldn't have anything to do with. We shouldn't want to be part of anybody in their idiotic ideas or the propaganda. So in this holiday season, this is a time to choose your friends and choose your family wisely, and separate yourself from the sheep or the goats, and these people that are pushing lies have nothing to do with it. What fellowship has light with darkness? So let's continue to be light and shine brightly, and not have anything to do with the unfruitful works of darkness. Go ahead.
Yes, well, thank you. You're very clear. We're at war. There's no question about it. And the violence you're referring to, talk to the people that were having dinner in Washington over the weekend that were the recipients of baseless, ridiculous, dangerous violence. So your points are very well taken. A lot of great perspectives. James Grundvig, you always weigh in with a unique view of things. Anything on your mind you'd like to share with us? Well, we've lost your audio, James. We got you.
All right, sure. 2008, the financial crisis. What happened? It low tide. All the redemptions came in, all the margin calls came in, and what else happened? All of the feeder funds that are connected to all the pyramid schemes were exposed. 110% exposed, completely exposed. Bernie Madoff and the rest of them, right? The whole thing collapsed. What do we have in 2020? We have the COVID hoax being exposed. We had the color revolution being exposed. We've had the false flag with George Floyd being exposed. And to end the year properly, we now have the voter fraud scheme exposed. And voter fraud in the United States has been going on for at least my entire lifetime, and probably much longer. And so this is, I'm going to have to say this is very good for America, right? It's very good to finally expose the corruption in the media, expose corruption in technology. The Great Reset, by the way, is the one that created the financial crisis. The Great Reset team's the one that put out the pandemic. The Great Reset wants us to take COVID vaccines next year, and the Great Reset wants to throw a coup in the United States and get Donald Trump and all of Trump's supporters removed, because he and we stand in their way of their plans of a one world government.
Well said. This is the Great Reset versus President Trump's global financial reset, two completely opposite things. And as I was listening to you, James, what's coming to my mind through your comparisons of '08 and now, which is an awakening, this is dark to light. But we're moving not dark to dark. We could be if we lose it, but we're moving dark to light. There's no question about that. Anybody else would like to weigh in on a closing comment? Feel free to do so.
I hope everybody will be praying. We have a very serious situation on our hands. Our nation, our future, our liberty, our children, all hangs in the balance. And without God, we're already as good as done for. So I agree with the lieutenant's comments. We really need to rely on God in these trying times, and trust that His will be done. He's going to be on the throne no matter what happens, and pray that justice would come, evil would be exposed, and that we could enjoy another century of liberty and family and constitutional Christian republic that we can pass on to our children and our grandchildren.
Well said. Beautiful.
And
Susan?
John, let me say something real quick on that. Let us be prepared for the madness of the left. Let us not be unnerved by the explosions and the violence and the crying and the whipping and the self-cutting and the self-immolations that these people may be driven demonically to perform and do. Let us not be unnerved by the self-suicide of the left when they determine that Joe Biden is not the president, that Trump won the election, period, and he's the president. Be prepared for the psychological attempt to traumatize you by the left, the violent threats by the CNN and Anderson Cooper and all of these traitors. Be prepared for the psychological warfare that they're going to try and unleash upon you, but let it flow like water off a duck's back. Understand this is where they're going. Understand the left is brainwashing themselves to allow themselves to go crazy when they lose. And they will most likely engage in a lot of bloody assaults, but be prepared to defend yourself using every instrument necessary and defend yourself with ruthless efficiency, and also establish close understanding with the police and your veterans groups, because this civil war they very well could try and unleash, and we just have to be prepared for that mental breakdown that the left is inevitably going to be experiencing. Go ahead.
Well said. Thank you, Lieutenant Scott. Susan, any closing comments?
Yes, I have two. Just to add to what Lieutenant Scott said, I think that a lot of these riots that we've been seeing are financed by the left, and I think that they have been weakened to such an extent that they are unlikely to unleash the color revolution that the left had in store for us. I think had Trump not been in power and had he not kind of chipped away at their financing and their legitimacy, I think we would be looking at kind of
We've got
Trump cannot do this on his own. The left has tried to infantilize the American people. So Trump is exposing the deep state and the criminals within our government and in the media for who and what they are. It's up to us as the American people to empower ourselves and to do our part to clean up the government and take back our country.
Well said. Good advice from Alex, Lieutenant Scott, and Susan Bradford. Alexandra, any closing comments?
I just want to agree with Lieutenant Scott also that we have to remain strong against this mind control that's coming at us. And I've been going up and down. I mean, not as much as I'm proud of myself actually, but yeah, when I saw that what happened with the U.S. attorneys and with this guy who was in charge of CISA, I really lost heart, for a few hours, and then I began to understand that maybe this is a counterintelligence operation, and that I don't know what I don't know about what's going on too.
That's a very good stable datum when it gets a little rough. We don't know what we don't know, and God is in control. Thank you, Alexandra. James Grundvig, closing comments to wrap up our show.
Sure. I'm going to close with a divine positive. End of the month on 11:30 is going to be a lunar eclipse. Dark. Donald Trump was born under a lunar eclipse. How interesting. Better than that. On 12/14, the Electoral College gets together. 12/14 is a solar eclipse. Light. Interesting. Q is the number 17. Well, the 17th book in the Old Testament is Esther. Esther's all about reversal. Well, look at this. We got a lunar eclipse. Donald's born under a lunar eclipse. We're going into light. We're going into a reversal of fortune. Donald Trump is going to be the next president of the United States for sure. It is written above and beyond us.
Music to the panel's ears, music to my ears, and as always, an interesting perspective from investigative journalist, researcher, and author James Grundvig. I want to thank our panel very, very much for carving out time out of your life to share with American people. Stay safe, and God bless our panel, and God bless this country. Thank you all very, very much. All right, folks. I'll be right back after this important announcement and to close out our show.
The globalists now tremble as Trump and this movement threatens their totalitarianism world government. President Donald J. Trump leads America's second revolution. Trump and the Resurrection of America? Pick up your copy today.
All right. I hope you found this inspiring, informative, and helpful. That's part of our mission, empowered, informed, and connected. So join us tomorrow. The economist Kirk Elliott and author and publisher of The Praying Citizen, Lori Coley. She will be with us tomorrow. We've got a great show lined up. Be sure to subscribe to American Media Periscope. Share our new platform to help awaken and inform others. The people, the patriots. Yes, we are now the news. And so we must remember three things cannot long be hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. Freedom? It's up to us. This is John Michael Chambers speaking with his voice. Thank you for spending this evening with me and our panel. Stay the course, trust the plan, heed the call. And remember, where we go one, we go all. Victory is ours. Stay safe and God bless.